That's why one of the Supreme Court justices said there's no person in America in prison today who hasn't volunteered to be there.
Oh, okay. Because the attorneys don't understand.
That's correct. And on top of that, what is it the judge says when the jury comes in? Will the defendant please rise? He doesn't say, Mr. Davis, please rise and face the jury. He says, will the defendant please rise? Well, if you look up the definition of dummy in Black's Law Dictionary, you'll find that a dummy is a straw man who stands in place of another or who stands until the proper person is named or available to take his place. Will the defendant please rise and take the place of the dummy?
Oh, okay.
Now, I watched this in action in federal court 10 years ago. I watched it. I lived it.
That's in your case you're talking about?
No, in my friend's case.
Oh, I see.
They were on trial on a federal indictment, and they were the trial started on Monday. They went to jail Monday night. Trial began again on Tuesday morning. They were in jail Tuesday night. Trial began again on Wednesday morning. And on Wednesday morning, their federal public defender stood up and says, my name is such and such, and I don't believe you've met my clients, the defendants. He named their names, and he tugged up on my friend's coat till he and his wife stood up, at which point the federal judge dropped the gavel and said, let the record reflect the defendants have appeared in the courtroom.
Oh, my goodness. What a trick.
Well, wouldn't you believe that they were already there? Would that not be your thought process right now?
Well, not after I hear this.
Well,
it's coming to mind is when Sam was talking about the defendant, and most people stand up and they're representing this fiction that's there. And I think about the most recent controversy I was involved in, where at the end of the trial, the defendant was found guilty, but you, Mr. Edwards, will not be held to account for the defendant's actions.
There you go.
Separated me from the defendant.
That's correct.
Yes.
I'm telling you, the straw man is alive and well, and that's why they're trying to shut me up.
There's a number of people they appear to be trying to shut up, and in this same area. So that's why it keeps me so intrigued. How do I don't know if everyone else out there is as dense as I am on this, but...
Well, it's not a matter of dense, Randy. This is very complex material here.
Talk to me about how I conceive myself separate from my straw man in a way that I don't wind up tripping over the straw man.
Well, here's the way that of course, I've had 10 years to practice this, but here's the way I look at it. For years prior to 1999, for 20 years, I didn't use my Social Security number for anything. When I got this information and I began to understand it, and I looked at the scriptural context of it and the scriptural principles behind it, I wrote off a letter to Social Security and got a new card. And anybody that wanted to do business with me, I simply gave them anything they wanted. And I would even make the comment once in a while, oh, you want to do business with my straw man. And some people would look at me and say, that's correct. And others would just look at me like I was crazy. The Wizard of Oz tells the whole story. You got the straw man, you got the Tin Man, the TIN man, the taxpayer identification number man, and you got the Cowardly Lion. And we're off to see the wizard in the land of Oz, or ID, or KS, or MO, or NY, in the federal zone, where everything's in living color. And, you just have to contemplate, who it is. The straw man is the transmitting utility. Christ was the transmitting utility. Christ said, no man comes to the Father but by me. He was put up in our name, in our place, and he paid the debt. Well, the straw man is there as the transmitting utility, and it transmits our liabilities our assets back and forth in commerce throughout the system. And I use him every day. And right now, my straw man is charged with 31 counts of money laundering. And I've allowed those charges to pass through to me, and I've accepted those charges, and I'm sending them back through the straw man to the court for settlement. Now, they don't want to settle. They want to put me in prison. They don't want to perform the settlement. And that's been the issue for 10 years. No one wants to perform the settlement because they don't want the illusion to go away. And, you know, I have seen it. I have lived it. I have... So, you know, it's just a matter of paying attention and being aware. I know that years ago over in Oregon in federal court, two friends of mine were on trial, and the judge would say, if they wanted to question a witness, he would say, would the defendants like to question the witness? And nobody would say a word. And he would look at his computer when he asked this. And then he would turn and he would ask each of them individually by name, would you like to question the witness? And this went on the whole trial. And in fact, one of the fellows at the break, his standby counsel walked up and said, are you going to put me on the witness stand? And to which my friend said, well, I don't know. I hadn't considered it yet. And he said, well, I have to tell you that if you put me on the witness stand and ask me if I have a claim against you, I have to tell you I do. Well, the guy didn't realize what he had just been told. It's the attorney, his defense attorney, holding the claim against the straw man, because that attorney is there representing the straw man, waiting for you to stand up and take his place.
Okay.
That's what you have to be aware of.
Okay.
How do I get an understanding of when I would trip over the straw man?
Well, that's an interesting question. You know, most people, and is it Debbie or Deborah?
It's Deborah.
Deborah, when she was asking the question about the corporations being able to sue people, and she sees these pleadings on lawsuits all the time, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, we're the most litigious society in the world, and all these suits flying back and forth, but the real power, if an attorney would exercise it, is in the rules. And he can separate you, or you can separate you. We've abdicated our responsibility to people that practice on us in the form of attorneys. And I look at this as that suit has to be brought in the name of the fiction, in the name of the straw man, because it's the transmitting utility. By the way, the United States of America is a straw man for the United States. Look at the pleading. And by the way, once you appear in court, the pleadings will change from your uppercase name throughout the pleadings to your upper and lowercase name throughout the pleadings. Once you've appeared and taken the place of the straw man. And I've seen it for years, over and over and over. And so, you can send me a pleading that the government or whoever has sent you, and I can tell you in 3 minutes if you've appeared or not, just by reading the pleading.
Is there anything you could do after you've appeared?
Yeah, you can do a 9B mistake, affidavit of mistake. You have to be able to unwind your mistakes. If you go to Rules of Civil Procedure 9B instead of 9A, you'll see fraud, mistake, inadvertence of mind, misplaced confidence. And you would do it. It says exactly what's supposed to be pled and how it's supposed to be pled. And in matters of affidavit of mistake or inadvertence of mind, you're supposed to plead those with particularity or peculiarity and say, this is I misplaced my confidence in this attorney, and he sold me down the river.
Okay.
Therefore, I want to back up and do this all again.
Okay. And does the court have to allow you to do that?
Well, once you put in the affidavit, an affidavit is a responsive pleading.
Right.
Okay? And so when you put in the petition, some people want to call it a motion. I always put in petition. And I support that with an affidavit of mistake. And I say what the mistake was. Okay? Now I go to, if they do not respond with another responsive pleading, then Rule 8D, which has now been changed a little bit, it's actually 8B6, is effective failure to deny. And the effective failure to deny in a responsive pleading is to admit and concede. And so I just follow my way through the rules back and forth, and I don't ever leave the issue. I'm sorry, I can't go forward. This issue over here hasn't been resolved.
Well, could you even do that before sentencing if you've been found guilty?
Well, that remains to be seen.
Okay.
All of these things that everybody talks about, it's just like the different forms, 28, 90, 91. I'm waiting to talk to anyone that's used those and got out of prison.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to talk to them. I want to say, okay, what did you do? How did you do it? Because here's the bottom line. I don't care what it takes or what the process is. I just want to win.
Right.